So some of the best country sounds that have ever come out of Nashville came from the 1990s. The neo-traditional honky-tonk revival that started really in like late 80s and went through about 1999, early 2000s, was, in my opinion, the pinnacle of country guitar sound. So in this video, I want to talk about how to dial in that 90s country sound. I look washed out. All right, let's try that again. I found there's basically two different sounds of 90s country. There's partly Bakersfield 1950s and 60s, Buck Owens, Don Rich style, and then there's a little bit of the 80s Nashville sound with Chet Atkins kind of mixed in there as well. So today I'm actually going to go over two different sounds, and it so happens that my two favorite and first country songs that I ever heard both demonstrate this perfectly. One's more of the 80s style, one's more of the 60s style, which combines into the 90s style. So those two songs are going to be How Do You Like Me Now by Toby Keith, which came out in 1999, and then Brooks and Dunn's Boot Scootin' Boogie, which came out in 1991. So Boot Scootin' Boogie is going to be the more rockin' country, rockabilly sound, and then How Do You Like Me Now is going to be the more kind of 80s-esque sound. So let's talk about gear before we jump into it. So first thing up you need is guitars. So this is my Telecaster. Well, it's not really a Telecaster, it's a parts caster. Body's from Fender, neck's from Warmoth. If you're curious about it more, be a link in the description box below. So we're gonna need a Telecaster. That's first and foremost. And then for the more Toby Keith sound, the more 80s kind of esque, it's gonna be this American Fender Stratocaster Deluxe with the N3 pickups. Then we need to talk about amps and pedals. For the most part, the amps we're going to use is going to be a Fender-esque style. I'm probably going to be using a Fender Deluxe because that seems to be the most available clean Fender amp that most people probably are familiar with or have at their local store, and a Vox AC15. Now, if you follow this channel at all, you know I don't actually have amplifiers anymore. I have digital rigs. I have the HX Stomp XL and then a Fractal Audio FM9. So today I'm going to be using the Fractal stuff, but I am going to be keeping it very simple with a Fender Deluxe and a Vox AC15. So you can just follow along when it comes to what sounds and how to dial in the amps so we can get those classic 1990s sounds. All right, so first let's talk about effects, because there are a few effects that you need in order to dial in the 90s country sound. Don't worry, pretty simple effects, and you probably should have them already on your pedal board if you play country music. So let's hop into the computer real quick because my stuff's digital. So here we have the complete rig. As you can see here, there's lots of effects, but we're not going to use all of them. The amp is a Class A15, which is a Vox 15. First thing we're going to do is come over to delay and go ahead and turn it on. And you can see that this is a digital mono delay. So the thing about slapback is that slapback is very quick in the repeat of the sound, but it only repeats itself once. So we want to make sure we set that up, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So first thing you want to do is the feedback. You turn that down all the way to 0. And you can see that only repeats itself once. So if we turn it up to, let's say, 100, goes on, goes on, goes on, and that's what the feedback knob does. 30%. It's kind of more, you know, more of a reverb at this point, but we turn it to 0. Very quick. And then the time, just for demonstration purposes, this is 430. So a lot of delay there. And then here's, no, nothing. Can't even tell it's there. You want it so you can kind of tell it's there. Maybe 95? That might be a little much. I might do, say, 150 milliseconds. Important to note that your tempo is not going to be anything, because if you have it there, you won't be able to adjust the time. So feedback 0, tempo nothing, time 150, mix to taste maybe 15. So all already sound pretty country, especially it's on the bridge pickup. Slapback is sounding great. So when it comes to effects, when it's delay, a simple delay is going to be time, feedback, and mix. Don't worry about these other parameters because most other pedals don't have it. Next thing we want to talk about is compression. Compression is a little bit more challenging, a little bit more difficult to explain the sounds of it, but essentially what it does is your signal looks like this. And actually, so what you can see here is you got some peaks right there, some valleys right there. And what a compression does is essentially lowers the peaks and raises the valleys to make things a little bit more even. It almost has like a squashy sound. Very 90s country. So let's go ahead and compressor right here. And here are your basic compression controls. Pedal compressor, there you go. I typically like the mix maybe 70-ish. That's really reverby. Just for the sake of a demonstration, I'm going to turn the reverb off. So that's with compression. Let's turn it off. Subtle. And I might add a little bit more. Most compressors are going to have mix, level, and compression. So I'm going to put this maybe 50-ish. I actually like this better at 5. Awesome. So talked a little bit about the effects we're going to use. I think that's already sounding pretty good, but let's go talk about How Do You Like Me Now by Toby Keith. Guitar player on it was Brent Rowan. Awesome session guitar player. So let's talk about that a little bit. So I love that jam. Telecaster is not going to be your friend here because the secret sauce to this kind of more mellower is the 5-way blade, and it is the second position playing the middle pickup and the bridge pickup. Now, if you have like one of those Brent Mason Telecasters, you might be able to get away with it. But for me, when I'm playing Toby Keith, How Do You Like Me Now, I am in that second position right here. Volume about 8-ish. Tone about 8-ish. And about 8-ish. Everything is kind of on 8-ish. And I'm already kind of liking that sound. I'm not using the compression. So let's go look at the amp a little bit. I love Fractal. They used to give you everything, and that was too much. But now, with these new updates, they give you exactly what a Vox would have. So I actually think that Chime, we need to go up a little bit with the treble. The bass, I'm going to leave the bass about 5. Treble about 6.5. Let's do treble 7. Because we're not playing a Telecaster, so we can punch the treble up a little bit. I actually think we might have a little bit too much delay here, so let's get the delay and let's drop it down maybe to 94. Let's see what that sounds like. It's sounding a lot better. So one thing we didn't talk about was overdrive, distortion, fuzz, all that good stuff. It's not really necessary in the 90s neo-traditional sound, but there is one pedal that you're probably familiar with that is the secret sauce to most session guitar players in Nashville in particular, and it is the Noble's ODR1. And luckily, I'm pretty sure I have one here. Here we go, Noble's OVD. In my opinion, that takes away from it, but it might be really good for the solo, and I don't know how to play it. I think it sounds really good. It's very subtle. drives at barely 2, not even 2. So keep that in your back pocket. But for the most part, I think that's all you need. You just need a simple slap back end. Let's go pick up our telly and talk about some Brooks and Dunn, Boot, Scoot, and Boogie. All right, so here we have our deluxe reverb, and we're playing some Boot, Scoot, and Boogie. Not quite, it's getting there already. So we have amp settings, we have bass. I want to turn the bass up just a little bit. I'm going to turn that to 5. Treble, I'm going to turn up to 7. Here's the thing about amps. You have a volume knob, and you have a tone knob. In particular, you're having your tone knob, and I meant to say that the first time around, but you have a tone knob. If it's a little too bright, you just back it up a little bit and turn it down. You can't add more brightness, but you can turn down brightness. So I got gain at 3, bass at 5, treble at 7. Sounding pretty good, not quite there yet. Don't worry about level, that's just kind of like a master, so it doesn't clip digitally. So let's go back over to compression, pedal compression, 5, mix. I'm going to use 100 at the mix because this is a pretty compressed song. So I'm going to attempt to demonstrate how compression works. Granted, YouTube compresses videos already, so hopefully this comes through. All right, let's bring compression all the way down to 0% in the mix. Sounds like this. Now let's bring the mix up to 50%. And let's bring the mix all the way up to 100. You can tell there's a lot less dynamics in the 100 versus the 50 and the 0. So very, very, very important for 90s country, at least for this style, this compression. If you want to do the solo, the slide part, but we're not going to play the little slide part, you want to disengage the compression, add some overdrive. And here I'm using the full OD, which is the OCD, I think. Drive at 2, tone 5.6, mix all the way. Oh yeah, and let's add a little bit of delay. I got some stereo analog delay. Analog delay is fine. Time, about 500 milliseconds. Feedback at 20 and mix 9.5. Got a good job, I work hard for my money. So that's how you dial in those honkin' neo-traditional 1990s classic sounds. Let me know in the comment section down below, what is your favorite 1990s guitar song? And before you go, I just finished my book. It's the Country Guitar Book. It literally goes over everything that you need to know how to play country music. It's 140 pages of theory, song choices, inspiration from these guitar players that we mentioned today, but also the choices that you make, gear selection, everything and anything over 140 pages. There'll be a link in the description box below, along with a special code if you're seeing this early. So I hope you go check it out, and I can't wait to hear the music that you play with these 90s country sounds. I've been Ryan. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, let the music play.